Now, with the Super Mario Brothers movie, when it was announced, I was like, how is this even going to be a movie? How are they going to make a full length Mario movie? This sounds like a bad idea, and I'm not really seeing where this can go and how this can be successful. So I didn't have a lot of hype. And then when they announced Chris Pratt, I just remember being like, okay, that still is a strange decision. I don't really see where this is going, yada, yada, yada. Then we started to see some of the footage, and I was like, okay, I mean, that looks okay. It looks interesting. Then the first trailer. And when I saw the first trailer, I was like, holy shit. Okay, this movie does look pretty interesting, pretty good. And the more content we've seen from it, the better it's looked. And now we're at a point where I believe that this has a chance to be a $1 billion film. Obviously, I had concerns with the Princess Peach moment that reminded me of Bo Peep. I'm not overly concerned about that anymore, but it's Hollywood. And so you have to at least have that concern out there. Moving forward, though, we have long range box office forecast. Nintendo and Illumination's Super Mario Brothers movie on course for stellar Easter debut, potential $100 million plus long weekend haul. If they hit this number domestically, if they hit $100 million domestically, and this movie is somewhat good, it's a $1 billion movie right here. It's a $1 billion movie.
You have to look at these movies much differently than you look at, say, an MCU debut. Because Ant-Man made $100 million, and that movie is not going to hit $500 million worldwide. But it hit $100 million opening weekend because of the way that Marvel's kind of trained the audience to anticipate these first weekend releases. Whereas with an animated movie like Mario, from what we've seen with Sonic, from what we've seen from Illumination in general, or even like, Puss in Boots, the Minions movies, things like that, they have much better legs typically. One, because they're much better movies, but also just because that's the type of audience you're dealing with. In terms of an audience that might attract some younger people as well. Families might not all go out on opening weekend. They might go throughout the week, whatever. So when you do look at this, and you have to scroll all the way down to see, this is very long range tracking, but right now, this is what they're looking at for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Opening weekend projected between $71 and $105 million opening. Potentially right now, domestic haul, $300 million to $427 million. Now, I think if this number hits the 350 to 400 domestic, I think it will make $1 billion, because I think the international splits will be way better than domestic splits, because I think it's going to have just such a worldwide appeal. And right now, Screen Rant is predicting the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Now it's just what they're coming up with. They think it's going to be the top movie in the box office this year. They're looking at it like they think that $900 million is probably the bare minimum that this movie will make, based on the Nintendo brand, based on Mario, based on Illumination's track record. When you look at those Minions movies that tend to make like $900 million, some of them have broke $1 billion. This is where they think that the floor is, around 900 million, and potentially over $1 billion.
Listen, when this movie was first announced, before we saw anything, I could not comprehend that it was something of this level. They have put massive resources behind this movie. Nintendo has never been stronger as a company or a brand. Nintendo is hitting levels that we have never seen. The Switch is going to end up being the best-selling console of all time. Now, the one thing I'm waiting for Nintendo to do, I think there's some type of Mario announcement, some type of video game announcement that's going to be intertwined with this, but we're less than a month away now. So I don't know that was the anticipation, was that we're going to get the next 2D Mario or the next 3D Mario game announced to kind of build hype. Mario Day came and went 5 days ago. We thought that might be the day that it happens, but nothing has been announced. Obviously, there's a lot of hype for, the Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom. And so they're going to keep that focus on. But there's got to be a Mario announcement in the next few weeks, I would imagine.
Also, like, Nintendo doesn't necessarily do stuff the way we'd think. They would have no problem just announcing it like the day before it launches. They just don't care about that kind of thing. We've seen that from them before. Overall, like, the movie looks fine. I actually think that they're putting too much into this movie. Like, so far in the trailers, we've seen basically every possible video game referenced. And it's almost like, man, like, I would want to maybe save some of that for another Mario movie, a potential sequel or whatever. But like right now, between like I feel like every single Mario franchise, other than Paper Mario, I guess, has almost been represented from in some way in the movie, which is kind of crazy.
I would agree with that. I mean, you've seen so many hidden references of just little things, but I take that as a positive because they are honoring what people know Mario as in these little moments. And obviously, the Mario Kart stuff is looks to be a pretty big section within the movie, which is a good play for them. Now, again, the other thing we have to acknowledge is right now there's a massive hole in the market, and it's that Disney Pixar market. You
Yeah.
know, that Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, we're not getting that from Disney because they're pushing identity politics driven nonsense. Like this looks to be a good family friendly film with iconic characters that every single person on the planet knows. There's a huge market right now for that because Disney has lost that market significantly over the last 5 years. So if this movie's successful, this opens up the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, which is fucking hard to imagine for me, hard to process that we could be getting an NCU. And that's what happens if this movie becomes this big hit that it looks like it could be. It leads us to a Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Holy shit.
But we'll see. I definitely think it's going to do massive numbers in the box office. I don't know what the budget is. I can't find like an accurate reported budget for this movie. But either way, if it cracks 800, 900 million dollars, it doesn't even have to make $1 billion, and it's still going to be massively profitable in all likelihood based on normal Illumination budgets. So we'll see.
I mean, obviously, these are very early numbers. I just can't see a scenario this movie doesn't have a huge opening weekend, but the legs of the movie will come down to the word of mouth discussion. Like, is this just going to be a generic paint by the numbers? Hey, here's a movie with Mario where he does a couple of fun, goofy things to honor the video games, and it has just your standard kind of whatever story to it? Or is it going to be something that can kind of transcend like a Toy Story? I don't know.